There is no doubt about it that the Ironheart series is definitely by far the worst creation by the Marvel Cinematic Universe, by Marvel Studios and the Disney company for obvious reasons. We all know that there's an agenda and there's a lot of messaging behind this show, but one thing is for certain about this series is that all agendas aside, let's be very real about this, there's a lack of character development. The directing, the producing, the writing is just way off, it makes no sense at all, and it's very lackluster. There's no depth to it all, and we already know that the first 3 episodes pretty much were labeled as abysmal by many Marvel fans out there. You go over to Rotten Tomatoes, even the regular critics are not enjoying the show to its fullest. It's standing around 70-some% on Rotten Tomatoes, but when you look at the audience score, it is dumped at 59% at this point, and it's getting, of course, closer and closer to the Acolyte levels. I don't think it's going to get that bad, but we'll see once the next 3 episodes debut on July 1st. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, there were 2 major signs that Disney and Marvel had a lack of confidence in the show right from the get-go. Number 1, they have Dominique Thorne, going out there talking about DEI, LGBTQ rights, and how there's no agenda there, and she continues to do so. But the other thing is that they also had Robert Downey Jr., and they had him roll out and really kind of prop the show up and prop the character of Riri Williams up above Tony Stark and really tried to really have him really as the face of the Ironheart press tour, and it really just backfired completely. But what's interesting about this is that we already have Dominique Thorne going against the fans yet again. Now, with both Disney and Marvel panicking over the Ironheart series as worrisome reviews pour in, along with abysmal ratings already that were researched internally over at Disney and Marvel, one major development going on now involves more to do with actress Dominique Thorne, who lashed out at critics and haters of the series, quote-unquote, after the terrible premiere for the show. Thorne delivered the following. I will admit there is this tiresome narrative that has been floating around out there, not just for Riri Williams, but for the entire roster of our characters in the show, that they hold no value to the MCU and contribute nothing to the story, and don't share a valuable message to our audience. I think it's quite the opposite, really. When you take a closer look at someone like Riri Williams, she is highly respected by her peers, more so than Tony Stark was with his peers, and you do see that contrast in this show. There is also way too much focus on the LGBTQ community by the fandom in a negative manner, and it just needs to go away, I think, for a healthy story to grow, and for Riri to really share her limelight with fans. This truly is our most diverse cast yet, our most diverse series yet, for the MCU. Whether people like that or not, it should be something celebrated. And we do live in an unfortunate culture where you just can't trust critics anymore and reviews as much as you once did years ago. The only critics that we should look are the ones too, of course, that are reasonable and tell the truth and tell it like it is, and to not focus on a bias or a political narrative, or those coming from a political landscape, because we are seeing many examples of that from the Marvel fandom with this show. I ask everyone to not fall into the exhausting narrative that our project holds some kind of hidden message, because it for surely does not. We are building Riri to be the bigger person in this story, and bigger than Tony Stark ever was with his core values. There is a future for Riri there, and it's something that the entire cast and crew were very passionate about, especially for a series that values diversity. Now guys, let me say one thing about this before I move on. Now, if you guys don't want to be spoiled, you might want to mute this video for the next 30 seconds, but let's get into this real fast. There's a lot of contrast moments to this show and the Acolyte series. Number 1, there is going to be a major villain reveal in this show, and it's going to be Mephisto, alright, played by Sacha Baron Cohen. He is going to be Mephisto once you get the next 3 episodes, the next 3 batch of episodes that will drop in or on July 1st, alright? And that kind of contrasts what they did with the Acolyte series when they inserted Darth Plagueis. And that was also later into the show. It's almost the same exact thing, beat for beat, when it comes to how they're trying to lure in the fans and to really keep some of those fans interested. And when you look at the Acolyte series, even the even the introduction of Darth Plagueis didn't do it for anybody. It really only made things worse, and it's gonna kind of create a similar pattern here when it comes to Mephisto. Of all things, of all Marvel projects, you introduce this character in this story. I think that's a big fumble, to say the least, honestly. But overall, moving onwards, she goes on to actually elaborate further. I can't stress this enough, but we do unfortunately live in this era where critics are unfair to projects when it involves people of color. It's just the reality of the situation, how it all rolls. But we are going to get past that someday, and once we do, we can prove ourselves with the story. We have some very great surprises down the road that is going to change the minds of those that are opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all the important things in this world. I am asking everyone to celebrate our show and what we achieved, and how we were able to finally roll out the most diversified Marvel series yet that celebrates LGBTQ and trans rights. It really is a huge milestone, and when you're dealing with those that have an issue with that, then that is what we need to evolve from in society. And I really do believe that Ironheart as a show is going to help with that evolution. It's something that must move us forward into better times for the MCU and for Marvel fans generally. So again, I mean, look, we know that Dominique Thorne, she's nowhere near as insufferable as anyone like Rachel Zegler or Amanda Stenberg, who played the main characters of Osha and May in the Acolyte series. She's nothing like them, let's be very clear, but she's getting there slowly. You can see that the cracks are beginning to actually spread apart at this point, where she's beginning to show her true self about her feelings about Marvel fans a little bit more, and how she's getting very bitter about how there are a lot of critics out there that have an obvious problem with the show. It's not just with the agenda, but it also has a lot to do with the writing, the directing, and the lack of character development. There's really not a good message there to younger audiences. If you're looking at Riri Williams, it's not a good character or anybody to look up to as a, character that would actually inspire you. There's a lot of problems with the show, to say the least, and they really have to work on that. Now, the next 3 episodes, it's not going to really evolve anything in a positive sense. They do actually take a lot of other ideas from other past Marvel movies that really just doesn't really work all that well. We already know that basically the first 3 episodes, it takes a lot of core elements from Iron Man 3, in case you guys did not see it. If you look very closely, there are core elements from Iron Man 3 that are actually dragged into the show. Quite ironic, right? Because Iron Man 3, I think it's safe to say, is the worst of the entire Iron Man trilogy. So, when you look at all of this, though, this Ironheart series, it's really not going to work well. When you look at everything, between Mephisto coming into play here, and how there's going to be a very big cliffhanger with episode 6. We'll talk more about that. But overall, I would like to hear what everyone has to say about all of this below in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.